Welcome to Urban Legend Crypto. We're here to discuss many, many things, and to do that, we got our co-host, Mr. Bret Jenny.
What's happening, Pedro, man? It's been a couple weeks for me, man.
Yeah, you were kind of down and out for a minute.
Down and out, getting things situated with my health, but we're back, stronger than ever.
This is a good thing, brother. We were missed last week.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Yes, you were. All right. So today, what we're going to talk about is what happened with the Grayscale and the SEC, what's happening in real estate as far as the interest rates, the sale of properties, etc. We're going to talk about a little bit about Maui, and we're going to talk about, Bret, take it away. Tell me what you want to talk about.
Well, I was going to tell a few quick little stories. I know everybody loves AI, so I will save the AI story for a little bit later, but it's very interesting, especially the twist at the end. So.
All right. So we're excited. So the first thing we're going to talk about is, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's 97 million homes in the United States. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
I had no
97
idea.
million.
97 million homes. Yep, livable homes. And did you know that 38.7% of those are with no mortgage?
So almost 40% of the homes owned in the United States right now have no mortgage.
Isn't that crazy? 40%
that is
of
really
97 million houses don't have a mortgage. But then it gets a little better. 3% is the interest rate that everyone goes, the people have golden handcuffs. They're never going to sell. Yep. They got a sub 3%.
What's that rate?
So I wanted to know that. I was like, you know what? What the heck is that? And so I looked it up. And the rate of people that have 3% or lower is 14%. So only 14% of the 97 million have below 3. And then I thought, okay, so what's the other ones? So I will put this in the description or behind us or something, but the 3 to 4% is under 23.2%. The rate of 4 to 5% is under 12.2. The rate of 5 to 6% is 5.8. And 6 or higher is 5.7. All right? So get this. If you combine the first three, it's somewhere in the vicinity of 49% that are under a 5% rate.
So give people a perspective of what that means. So the rate of sub 3%, what's the lowest ever interest rate in the history of our country was in 2021?
22, I think.
22, okay. What just so people understand, interest rates are currently what are interest rates right now?
Well, current rates are about 7.9.
Okay, so what historically a couple of years ago was the lowest we've ever had for an interest rate?
Well, I think as far as averages, it's been about 2.5 to 3% that was at the low.
So fair to say the lowest of the low that we've ever been is somewhere between 2.5 to 2.75%.
Right.
Right. So just to give context, so that people really understand the importance of what you're saying with the difference in these interest rates and the percentage wise and the gaps, which is what's the difference in, let's say even. Okay, the average house is $415,000 right now in Las Vegas. Let's say a $400,000 house with 20% down. What would be the difference between 3% interest rate and what it is right now at 7.5% interest rate? What's the difference in the mortgage payment per month?
Well, funny you ask, because I did that rough calculation, and it turns out to be 85% more. 85% more. If you would have bought
85% more
a year ago, you're paying 85% more
for that
rate.
same house.
Now watch this. Here's the kicker. Do you know how much the rates have gone up in real terms? 500% since they started raising the rates. 500%.
What's factored into that?
Well, as far as the real interest rate right now, as per the Federal Reserve, it's sitting at 5.43. And maybe we'll put something up on the screen for that. But all these mortgage lenders, they all put on top of that their layered risk for their profit of what they're going to actually do the loans for. Okay. So right now you've got about a 7.9% on a mortgage. Obviously, a lot of people are buying down to a 6.5 to a.
So what you're saying is the bankers that are giving out these mortgages, or Federal Reserve for 5.1, 5.2%, 5.3%. They're in turn. The average going rate for what they're offering the general consumer is around 7.5% because that's incurred of their fees and what they're charging and the cost of doing business for them.
Correct.
Gotcha. Just so people kind of understand that.
So with their spread, right, which is fine. It's the way that they've done
Of course,
business
everybody needs to
all
make
along.
money. Yeah.
But if you look at what I see here, 38.7% don't have a mortgage. All right. So then logically, you're looking at this and you're looking at 12 million properties that are vacant in
Out of
the
97
out of
million?
97 million, right? You got rents that are going down. And I personally believe real wages are going down, even though what they're saying is a bunch of baloney that the unemployment is sitting at a gain of 3.8. I don't believe that. I think all those little adjustments that they've been making to make it look good are just political, but I'm thinking that's gone down too.
It's going back to the employer. What was it? Amazon that just emailed their employees, and the summary of the email was, listen, if you don't want to come back to the office 2 to 3 days a week, I don't think it's working out for us. and when you start to have employees or employers that are starting to get the upper hand again, I 100% agree that it's shifting back. And I think overall, they're allowing to have, they're getting more leverage, and they actually have to pay you, what they actually have to give and sacrifice to keep you as an employee has gone down more and more and more and more. And they're a lot more in position better now than they were 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, can you imagine a world when we were kids where you said that the employer would have to make an exception and do this, and this for an employee? We would have said, what are you talking about? You work for the company. Like, you don't tell the company what to do. The company dictates the environment. And during COVID and the last couple of years, it's crazy how it switched. So now it's switching back, 100% switching back. And that includes less wage or less bang for your buck.
Well, currently there's a phenomena that they're talking about. It's called golden handcuffs. And what they're saying is that people are not moving because supposedly they'd have these really low rates, and then they don't want to make any kind of move because they're never going to get the payment. Of course, if the payment's gone up 85%, rates have gone up 500%, why would they, right? But that being said, it may be true for the most part that that's going on, okay? But when do people change? And I could tell you, people usually change with pain. So if there's pain, in other words, they're going to lose equity, people will start to sell their property. And from what I can tell, if you've got 12.2% at 4 to 5, 5.8% at 5 to 6, and 5.7% at 6, and 38.7% that don't have a mortgage, that's in the high 49, 50% of people that are not included. Hold on. That are not included in the sub 3%. So let's assume that the 3% don't sell. But the other people are going to be like, hell no, we're selling because we don't want 2008 values to come back, and we don't want to lose our life savings. We're out. So we have a huge percentage of people that have a lot to lose. If you own a property that is 38.7% of the people that do not have a mortgage, and they're watching the property values go down 5-10% annually, how long is it going to be before they're saying, you know what, we got to get out of this?
To me, in response to that, I would say, well, what are they going to do then? Where are they going to go? So if the theory is if home prices keep dropping and dropping and dropping, yes, I mean, obviously you can't go broke taking profit, right? But so what are they going to do? Sell their house and then all rent? You know, so you need to have somebody who buys the home that they're selling. And that can only happen and exchange hands so many times before everybody that is selling with the purpose of, well, I don't want to own a house or I want to cash out on my profit while I can, they're all going to rent, right? So, I mean, that's the thing about living is you either rent or you buy. It's one of the two. So, but to rewind it even before that point, I 100% agree that it's going to take home prices to crash or come down before people would start selling. But I guess I don't really see that happening, and I don't understand how that would happen. Yes, people are incurring credit card debt more now than they have. I mean, if you look at the graph from before during COVID, people's savings were, I think, at one of the all-time record highs. And now we're at one of the all-time record lows for actually being in debt with credit cards and bills and everything else within a couple of years. And people need to understand. So I do agree with you in a sense of people need to understand, here's what the Fed did. During COVID, they injected a bunch of money into the environment. And the only way to cure that is to take that money back out of the environment. And as you said, people will not willingly give up that money. People will not willingly want to have that money taken from them. So if you're the government or you're the Fed and you've given a bunch of money to the environment and you now need to take this back, you can't ask people. You physically do that, and you do that by skyrocketing interest rates and things like that. So that's what people need to understand, But I guess I don't understand what's going to start the downfall of the home prices going down. The only thing that I can see would do that would be if they kept on raising interest rates higher and higher and higher and higher. And I think they're about done with that.
Well, you make good points. Why do people sell their homes traditionally? Divorce, death, relocation, health issues, right? Out of all those reasons, there's more, but out of all those reasons, which is the number one reason? Financial difficulty. Right. So if we are hitting all these points where things are going down, what people are going to do is go into the security. Right now, a lot of Americans believe that they're secure because they got $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 in equity in their homes. So they're happy, they're content. The danger of that is the drop in price happens very quickly, no warning, like a tornado. Once it's coming, there's not much you can do about it. And right now I'm feeling the headwinds. I'm looking at this market and I'm thinking to myself, okay, if we got so many people that have a whole bunch to lose, and then I always like to use this analogy. The average person makes between $35,000 to $55,000 a year. Okay, that's the average person. With his wife or her husband or whatever, they bring into the household maybe $100,000, right? But most people spend almost everything they make, right? So a report came out that the average person can't even save $400 to $500 on an emergency. So if you factor in that they can save, let's say $500, just to use that number, per month for a savings, then you're talking about $5,500, right? That the person, $6,000, that person can save on a year basis, right? And that's if they're making that kind of money. So if we've got someone that's very frugal, then they make $55,000, they save 10%, that's $5,500. Now, does that happen? It doesn't happen. That's not the point of this discussion. The point is, if you've got $100,000 in equity and all you can do is save $5,000 a year, how hard is it for them to figure out that they don't want to lose that money because that's their retirement, that's their going to college fund for their children, that's their pay off all their debt fund. So a lot of people are going to turn, when things get bad, they're going to start turning to their home. And their assumption is what's dangerous. And this is the reason I brought this up. Their assumption is, because this is what they're hearing from everybody. Oh, everything's fine. Brett's fine. Everyone has these low rates. They're not going to sell because they've got such a low payment. Well, here's the problem. If normally you have these things that happen in life, death, divorce, etc., and that produces a client to sell their homes on an annual basis, all right, per neighborhood, you've probably got between a 5 to a 10% drop in that neighborhood. If you couple that with any kind of black swan event, then you've got a 10, 20, maybe a 30% drop. And if their home is worth, make it simple math, $500,000, and it goes down 10%, that's $50,000. If their home goes down 20%, that's $100,000. If it goes down 30%, that's $150,000. Am I wrong? Is my math right? So all I could tell you is, if your equity position on that house is $100,000 to $200,000, and if you keep looking at Zillow or Redfin, and you start seeing the pricing going down in your neighborhood, what's going to end up happening for you is you're going to want to pull the trigger to sell the home. Here's the danger. If the people pull the trigger at the same time, then what we're going to have is inventories at all-time highs, 20,000, 25,000 houses. And then what will happen is that glut will become problematic for the sellers because they'll be forced to start dropping their price to be able to compete and give all kinds of concessions. So I'm looking at this thing coupled with, have you heard of something called the lag effect? Now, the lag effect is when the banks start tightening the money, as we've been seeing, All right, we just said that the difference in payment is as high as 85% from what it was a year and a half ago. All right, but if at the same time, all right, that you have bank tightening, you have the Federal Reserve raising the rate, and then the people and the businesses are not getting their credit. In other words, they're starting to tighten up the credit. If all this is happening at the same time, you're not going to see the following month of a rate hike or a tightening of the credit. You're not going to see that it's going to happen in 2 months. Even Jerome Powell says that what I'm doing today is going to take about a year to take effect. That's called the lag effect. So right now, corporations are tickled pink. Do you know why? They're tickled pink because they can go to the Treasury and get a 5.5%, 6% note, and then on $1 million, they're making stupid money, right? But wait a minute, what happens when they need money? So now, instead of getting a 2%, 3% on their money, now their money is it's probably twice, maybe 3 times more. And then here's a side to that. Did you know that BlackRock had way special terms to be able to start buying out America? Do you know what their rate was? They found this out.
No.
Do you know? It's 1.4% estimate.
So
1.4% to go buy as many freaking houses as they want.
That was going to be... So you want to know my response to everything that you're saying is, number one, if everything that you're saying does happen, I do agree with you, because perception is reality. And as soon as that perception starts slipping, it can be a slippery slope very, very quickly. No doubt. I've seen that happen. You've seen that happen. But I don't think that's going to happen. And my response to overall with that is, yeah, go ahead and sell that home. You know who's going to step in and buy that? BlackRock and all the other hedge funds. So with things like that, so let me ask you this question: they were getting what, 1.5% financing?
Yeah, 1.3 to
from
1.5.
who? From the Fed?
They were getting it
Jeez,
from the discount
serious?
window. Yeah,
from the discount window from
Yeah.
the Fed. They were getting a special rate of 1.5%.
yeah, to buy our homes.
To buy their homes.
No, to buy our homes. As
everyone's
Americans.
home.
So they would come out and do a hedge fund, and they would get it at these special terms. They would turn around, and then they would buy thousands of homes in a neighborhood. Now watch this. There's a class action lawsuit that came up and stopped all these companies from buying the homes. So they had to leave and go into commercial. They started doing that. But what just happened to commercial?
Yeah.
Commercial's going down.
That's fine. You know what I think they're going to do with commercial, and what makes the most sense for commercial is the ones that were office buildings. You take those, you clear them out, you make them completely open, and you put in condos. You put in living. That's what you're going to take. Unfortunately, you got to remodel and rebuild the whole inside of it. You know, you got to do a whole new build on the inside. And that's why is you need to, in order to get that commercial property, so now you need to make it livable with amenities or access coming in, access coming out to main roads, whatever it is, and all the accessibility and everything else that you need for that, a sewer maybe to be able to facilitate all those different individual units. But regardless, that's where I think if BlackRock and the hedge funds were smart, and as you said, they kind of got forced and kicked out of residential because of a class action lawsuit. Now they're focusing on commercial. If I was them, I would focus on these commercial buildings that were office buildings, and I would gut them out, and I would put up livable, and I would start all over again like I did with a business plan in 2009, 2010 when they came in with Invitation Homes.
That's a decent plan. Have you heard of our Starwood Capital?
No.
Okay. Starwood Capital, their CEO, his name is Barry Sternlicht. Okay. And he was just on a podcast and a show. I watched it. He owns, not him, his company owns 3,200 homes, right?
His company, 3,200 homes.
3,200 homes. But also, he also owns, the company owns several commercial properties. And then he was asked, what do you think is going to happen with commercial? Because he's got thousands and thousands of commercial property. And basically what he said was, if the rates keep going up, the commercial property will go down. And I went, I wonder why that's the case. So I looked it up. And basically, here's how it works. When you're doing the cap rate calculation has everything to do with the value. So once your cap rate is calculated, you just have to multiply it to be able to find out what a property is worth in the commercial realm, okay? So in this point, what we got here is a scenario where we're gonna see a drastic downturn, as per him, there's 3 separate types of buildings in commercial. There's an A, a B, and a C. And what he says is all three are going to go down in value because the cap rate is going to go down because the loan, okay, that they need to get to procure the property is going to go up. Therefore, it's going to cut into the profit in the rents. Mm-hmm. So if that happens, what's going to happen is when they're trying to do an evaluation of the property, right, then it's going to pencil down. So the property is going to worth less. But watch this. What he said was buildings are probably going to be okay. He says the big problem is going to be B and C buildings because employers are not going to want to take their employees.
What are the classifications for A, B, and C buildings?
Well, those are the ones that are not as high tech as an A building. An A building would be like a skyscraper in New York that has been set up. A B would be like something like in New York, but doesn't have all the amenities, maybe not the view, maybe smaller, maybe less. And then a C is just a dump of commercial, like it's sitting in San Francisco and it's sitting vacant. And what he says was that basically the A's may come out of this okay, but it's going to be a long haul for the owners to hold on to it. If they have to refinance is where I think the problem is going to be, because you're not going to be able to get decent terms for your commercial building. So unless you have the wherewithal to be able to pay it down to zero, you're freaking toast, right? You're toast. So he basically insinuated, and what I'm getting is that B and C's, a lot of those are probably going to be torn down because the owners are not going to want to keep the maintenance costs.
It's just cheaper to do it that way.
Yeah. But if they're allowed by zoning to turn those into multi-use, in other words, maybe have the first 2 floors have shopping and then the rest be all residential, maybe that will help them, but probably not. They're probably just going to end up gutting them and just holding on to the land, hoping for better days.
Let me give you a prime example of that. So you know where downtown Summerlin is, right? So remember, we used to drive by in the 215, you look over to the right, and it was just a steel beam structure. Open steel beams. And then they bought the land there and redeveloped it. So people don't know before, what used to be downtown Summerlin was supposed to be a bunch of other buildings, and then the market crashed and the builder basically walked away, or the developer walked away from it. So you just had steel beam structure that sat there in the middle of the desert by itself as you drove by for years. And they developed it. When they developed it, they took those old metal beam structures of steel and they buried it in the ground right next to it and then built on top of it, because it was a lot cheaper to just tear it down and dig a big hole in the ground and put the beams in there and bury it in there than it was to haul the beams out and try to store them and try to trash them somewhere.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So anyways.
Yeah. The point is what we have here is, in my humblest of opinions, we've got a major issue coming in real estate. And I'm not sure how long the lag effect is going to take, but I'm reasonably certain we're in for a major correction. What I found kind of crazy was that at the end of 22, between, I'd say, if I can remember my numbers, August through December, okay? We had
2022?
Yeah. We had a 24% increase in value while the rates are going up. And I'm like, huh? But that was created because of the lower inventories. So a lot of this stuff is artificial. And I honestly believe, and I'll make a prediction on this show, that we're going to have a 30% correction. That's what I believe. We're going to have a 30% correction. It's going to affect every aspect of life.
You want me to throw a cog in the machine on that?
Yes, please do.
I don't think it will. I don't think it'll even be close to 30%. I think we've already made our corrections. I think that things are just going to keep on going at a slow and steady pace the way that they are right now. People who need to move here for whatever reason or another will still do that. The places that they're primarily moving from cost a lot more than where they're moving to. So I don't think that will be an issue. I think that people will continue to not put their homes on the market. I think that people in the real estate industry, as far as realtors like you and me, our money's going to be made on listings and fend for yourself for buyers. But I don't see it going. Home prices have already gone down 10, 12%. I just think that as long as, and I'm not speaking for the rest of the country, but as Las Vegas, I think that as long as we still have the demand moving here that we do, and the few people putting their homes on the market, it's just going to be the same old for another year or two, and then interest rates will drop, and then people will I think we'll actually have a lot more listings then, because people will say, okay, well, I've made my equity in my house and now it's at an interest rate where I may have locked it in before at 4.5% and now it's at 5.5%. So I'm good with that transition and a little bit higher of a payment because I've gained so much equity in my house. That's what I see happening. That's just my opinion, though. And I'm usually right. I'm just kidding.
You know what's great about this show is we can agree to disagree agreeably.
Yep. Be civil.
Yep. My only thing is people change because of pain, brother.
That's true.
There's a couple other reasons. They change because of education. They change because of this. But most people change because of pain. And the moment they can't pay the bills or they can't take that trip to Disneyland or they can maybe do that once or twice, but then at the end, they're going to sell.
I agree.
That being said, we've got other topics, boys and girls, so let's jump into that. Breaking: Grayscale wins SEC lawsuit for Bitcoin ETF review. So what? What do you got to say about
this? This is
that?
breaking news this morning. Like I was literally going for my morning run and my buddy is blowing up my phone with text and email. And then I got done with my run about 25 minutes later and Bitcoin is up like almost 6%. I said, well, it must have been true. And that's kind of what happens with Bitcoin sometimes, right? When you have some news like this. So what they're basically saying is Grayscale was in a lawsuit with the SEC and the SEC ruled in favor of Grayscale with the ETF application. So what this basically does in a nutshell is it gives clearance for BlackRock and Fidelity and some other hedge funds to start doing Bitcoin ETFs. And this basically gives a court ruling clearance for them to do so. So that's great news for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, man.
And so the article reads, crypto asset manager Grayscale Investments has scored a major victory against the United States Securities and Exchange Commission in efforts to convert its over-the-counter Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, GBTC, into a listed Bitcoin exchange-traded fund ETF. Previously, the SEC rejected the GBTC application on the grounds that the products were not designed to prevent Fraudulent Manipulation Act and practices. Grayscale subsequently sued, and the decision has been overturned. Okay.
You know what I like best about that? When he's talking, right there where he says previously. So Judge Rowe said that the SEC did not offer any explanation as to why Grayscale was in the wrong, which is exactly the point, which is exactly what we've been talking about from day one on this show, right? The SEC, Gary Gensler, comes in and says, we can't let you move forward with your ETF application because of this reason, which weren't really any reasons. They were vague responses. Why are you denying our application? Because we just are, basically is their explanation in so many words. And even the judge himself basically said, listen, you denied their application. You didn't even really give them a reason of why you denied it. You can't just deny without probable cause, without having a reason. So it's a win for Bitcoin.
Well, I think it is a win for Bitcoin in the short term. I'm still reserved because Grayscale has had a bunch of issues. And I honestly think they will not get approved. I think at the end, it will be BlackRock that will get approved.
Yeah.
And I think this is a nice victory, but I think they had to clear this up for BlackRock.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's a victory for Grayscale long term, but kind of, hey, Grayscale, thanks for laying the groundwork for us.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for spending all the money. We appreciate it.
Now we're going to do our hedge fund shit.
Yeah, because I mean, look, it says Genesis global pause withdraws, citing unprecedented market turmoil amid collapse of cryptocurrency exchange FTX. The firm was also impacted by the collapse of Singapore crypto hedge fund Three Arrows Capital, with a $1.2 billion debt owed to Genesis still unpaid. So with all that, I mean, the twins having issues with Grayscale, doing a formal lawsuit with the whole FTX, Three Arrows, and I don't care if they try to revive FTX. At the end of the day, they're just too much mud on them.
Well, you were talking before about the Winklevoss twins, and you said, well, they were suing Grayscale, and then they kind of stopped, and you haven't heard from them for a while. Probably good reason, right?
Right.
What's the best way for you to get your money back would be for Grayscale to win a court case.
Right.
So if you shut your mouth and let that happen, that increases your odds of you getting your money back. So that's probably why the Winklevoss twins, aka the twins, have been so silent.
Yeah, but if I was them, I'd definitely sell some Bitcoin right now get some of my money back, wait till it takes another dip and rebuy, because there is no ETF right now.
Yeah, I know.
This is just FUD. So we're dealing with a lot of FUD, which, you know what? Anything that helps Bitcoin clear the way. I'm not, look, it even says related. SEC accept BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF application, signaling regulatory review. Even right underneath that.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, listen, Bitcoin is just doing what Bitcoin does, man. Bitcoin does its thing, regardless of what the market does and it going up and down. Bitcoin does what it's designed to do, right? That's the thing about the Bitcoin network. The Bitcoin network, no matter if it goes up, no matter if it goes down, the Bitcoin network does what the Bitcoin network is designed to do. No more, no less. It doesn't really care about the market. It just keeps doing what it's supposed to do, which is decentralization. Period. That's what I love about Bitcoin. It's a machine. A machine's impartial. A machine doesn't have feelings. A machine doesn't care. It just keeps doing what it's designed to do. That's Bitcoin.
Going into that, SEC accepts BlackRock Bitcoin ETF application, signaling regulatory review. The SEC indicates that the commencement of the official review process for BlackRock ETF proposal. All right. So what you have here is an article from Cointelegraph that on July 15, 2023, that basically says that they have the application and they're going to it. Look, guys, you want to know the truth is this simple. BlackRock needed to get Grayscale out of the way with all that baloney that was going on. So they're going to get approved, and then Grayscale, they're going to get squashed like a bug, all right? And then they're going to be eaten up by the trillion-dollar giant behemoth, which is BlackRock, right? If you don't know this, BlackRock owns everything. Okay?
BlackRock has been working behind the scenes this whole time, so that when all the dirty work or all the clearance for the regulatory framework that needs to be laid down, all of a sudden there comes BlackRock, squeaky clean, polished up, showered, hair combed off to the side in his Sunday best. How you doing, America? That's what BlackRock's been doing.
Yeah. You know, what's crazy is there should be some kind of antitrust going on review with BlackRock, because, I mean, seriously, dude, they can't buy everything under the sun, if
you have your hands in every single person's pocketbook.
Yeah. So under the guise of what? Under the guise of helping with Vanguard and BlackRock, helping the retirees with their pension plans, and that's what they're doing. And baloney, dude. This is a freaking takeover any way you look at it. They're trying to take over Bitcoin. You know why? Because they want to silence Bitcoin. But they're not going to be able to. People are going to get wind of this, and they're going to start buying Bitcoin, which will dilute their ability to control it. That's my hope anyway.
So I had a college professor who used to say all the time, he said, large corporations, who do they give more to when it comes time for elections? Do they give more to Democrats or do they give more to Republicans? What do you think, Pedro?
Well, they give more to Democrats because they're freaking fascists.
Incorrect. They give equally to both sides because no matter who wins, they're set.
Oh, you're right.
That's what they do.
The two-headed eagle, right?
Yes, they give equally to both sides because then no matter who wins, they're absolutely set. So it's kind of the same thing, which is if you're taking care of everybody and you're the default mechanism in the end, as far as the government, if they were smart, they would be buying as much Bitcoin right now as they could. Why would they? Why would they not? They can literally print as much money as they want to, literally out of thin air. The government can print as much money as they want. So even for the purpose of we're going to buy all the Bitcoin and we're going to bring the value way down, or the purpose of the other side of the coin, which is we ultimately believe that this could be a world store value, and what does it hurt us to buy as much as we can anyways? Regardless, they can print as much money as they want to. Why wouldn't they buy as much Bitcoin? And who knows, maybe they are. But it's the same thing with BlackRock. They've got their hand in everybody's pocket, right? So at the end of the day, they're the default to go to.
Shaw 256. Baby.
Shaw 256. Still getting talked about.
Shaw 256. Brother.
Going viral, brother.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's they started this stuff anyway.
Speaking of viral, let's get to your little thing. What was this little trick that you did on TikTok and now you're blowing up, dude? What was it? It was about Maui, right?
Well,
so what was your thing about Maui, man? Check this out.
Well, here's the thing. I tell you what, man. I've been to Maui many times. I love the people. So it wasn't a trick I did on Maui. It's more like I've let people know about what's going on with the children. What bothers me more than anything I believe that DEWs, where direct energy weapons, were used. I looked at everything. I'm not a stupid guy. I just looked, and the proof's there. Now, who did it? I have no idea. I don't.
What is that?
It's a direct energy weapon. Well, the way it works is, back in the 50s, 60s, they developed basically a laser beam. Okay, almost a Star Wars type of technology that they're able to put on satellites, etc. And so, one of the things that's going on the web that's very interesting is, do you remember the balloon thing with China, where the balloon was going all over everywhere and it was kind of mapping out and people were wigging out, why didn't Biden blow it up, blah, 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 blah. Well, it turns out that one of the places that they mapped out was Hawaii. But what people don't know is that the Chinese satellites were actually over the balloon, kind of tracking, taking in the information and tracking everything. Now, could they be responsible for all of the fires that are going on right now in the globe? I mean, if you look at it, from Australia, South America, to all of the United States, Canada, you name it. A whole bunch of places are on fire right now. And so what a lot of us that are looking, we're saying that there's definitely something to be had or said about direct energy weapons. Now, would our government want to admit that this has happened? And the answer is absolutely not. And the reason is because if we're being attacked, they don't want to show their hand. They want to fight this thing. And if we are being attacked, man, we're probably fighting it right now. I don't understand the agenda behind it, but I'm relatively convinced that all of the fires, but some of these fires were done through direct energy weapons. But that being said, what bothers me, what's unique about Maui, is that a whole bunch of children, they're saying about 2,000 children are missing. And a lot of those are probably gone, unfortunately. The kids were sent home from
2,000 children?
Yeah. There's a new report that has come out that shows 2,000 children haven't come back to register for school, right? So that, you've got a bunch of displaced people, but what's weird is that you don't have a lot of the parents coming forward and crying and upset about losing their children. You do have, but not as many as you would expect for something that tragic. And a lot of people are looking at this and saying, well, the only conclusion is that they're gone too, right? So there's some speculation whether they were trafficked or not. I don't know. I know that there was a fire. There was a lot of coincidences. For example, why didn't they allow for 5 hours the opening up the waters so they can put out the fires? They waited 5 hours for that to happen. Why is the sheriff also the coroner? And why did they change right before the fire? They had changed a whole bunch of laws so that way the sheriff can actually make coroner judgments and get rid of bodies on the spot. I don't understand exactly how that went down, but that happened. And then you've got other coincidences, like why did the police stop all of these people on Front Street when they could have easily left the fire, but they were purposely stopped right in front of the fire, which was coming through Safeway. And you've got a whole bunch of eyewitness testimony that has said, why is this going on? And they walked out. A lot of Hawaiians actually tore down some barricades to get out of there. Had they not done that and disobeyed the authorities, they would have been toast. So that, coupled with something called the 15-minute city, they had just the week or 2 weeks prior had a meeting where the elites basically want to create 15-minute cities all over the globe. And Hawaii, Maui in particular, was chosen as a spot for that to happen. But the problem is the indigenous people will not give up that spot. And one of the reasons is because they have their holy mountain there, right? And they've lived there for multis of generations, and they don't want to allow new buildings, etc.
There's a lot of fishy things, and fishy is a kind word to say for the Maui fires. It's, number one, incredible that happened in modern day society in America. You know, when you think about everything that's kind of lined up to those factors, did you see video of people that were kind of standing in the ocean who were escaping the wild? I mean, did you see how that 50, 60, 70 mile an hour winds? I mean, it was just like a mixture of a whole bunch of things. And then, yeah, you're adding on these outside or other influences into it. But to me, they keep on saying 115 dead while there's over 1,000 missing. There's been over 1,000 missing for 2 weeks, but there's only 115 dead. Where do they think these people are at? They're on Hawaii. I mean, they're literally on an island. Why will they not say that these people are dead? Like, I don't understand. 115 over 1,000. That's literally 1/10 of the people. It's been 2 weeks. Why are they not saying that?
If you look at something crazy, like I've been to Maui a bunch of times, but when you're there, like British Columbia had a big ice sheet that fell into the water while I was there, and that they had a tsunami warning, and we could hear. We were in the forest where they're, one of the greatest waterfalls they have. Is we were in the forest up there, and we could hear the alarm, right? And why didn't that alarm? They say, I don't know if it's true, that it is the best alarm system in the world.
Of course. Why would it not be?
Why didn't it go off? And the guy that was in charge of all that basically said it didn't go off because they were scared people would run into the fire. Now, that's a bunch of horse manure, because if I knew that alarm's going off, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check the news. I'm going to check my surroundings. I'm going to see what's going on, and I'm going to see if I can save my family. All right. Then what brings me back to DEWs is, and I'm no expert, but there's a whole bunch of evidence that if there's some type of blue, like UN blue, for example, and white, then this laser doesn't burn it up. So they found a whole bunch of cars.
I saw that. I saw that.
So they found a whole bunch of cars that are blue. And
they weren't burnt. And they're like literally every car around them is completely burnt, and the blue ones weren't.
Tommy Bahama. So Tommy Bahama had a bunch of blue umbrellas that didn't burn.
Yep.
Right?
You can literally physically see the pictures of this.
Yeah. And then you've got a whole bunch of trees that didn't burn. So why is it the asphalt didn't burn for the most part, yet the cars that were hit that are aluminum were disintegrated, right? So if you look at the temperature of what burns aluminum, it's something at, I don't remember exactly, don't quote me, but I think it's like 14 to 3,200 degrees. But yet the asphalt next to it was fine. Rubber was totally melted, yeah? A lot of this stuff doesn't make any freaking sense. How did all of a sudden that wind come up that you had mentioned right before? I mean, what a coincidence that happens, right? And then the big one is there's a lawsuit going on, and that happened today. And the electrical municipal has said, we turned off the power, right? And the government officials were blaming the municipal electrical company
because we shut it off.
They said that we shut it off. What are you talking about? And they're saying no, and they're saying it was sad, but we're going to have to prove there wasn't us, which will come to more discovery on other things that did happen that should have happened and didn't. You've got a whole bunch of incompetence that happened that day. Funny that you see a whole bunch of people that should have been there, they weren't there, and then you got FEMA. Oh my gosh, you talk about incompetence. These guys come in and they're staying at the 4- and 5-star resorts, spending $3,000 to $4,000 a night.
I know,
right? To come in and help people that are getting $700 total from our government for a loss of absolutely everything.
That's why people don't use those resources, like the Red Cross. For every $10 that you donate to the Red Cross, $1 out of that $10 actually goes to the actual cause. The other $9 are to pay salaries or materials or whatever it is for the cost of to do that for a volunteer organization. So think about that. 1 out of every $10 of the Red Cross actually goes towards the cause of what they need. So
then you've got all of the citizens of Hawaii that wanted to donate to help the cause in Maui, and thousands of trucks started heading over there full of supplies to give the people some help. They were stopped by FEMA, by the police, because they didn't have a little document that said that they were from a company or a group that was approved to give aid. That is crap.
Think about that. It's It's the same thing if you look at when they had Hurricane Katrina, government responses. When's the last time you heard somebody say, "Oh, great, the government's here"? You never hear that. Why do you think that is?
What breaks my heart with these people is that I don't see them getting any help. I see we have a death toll that parallels 9/11, yet I don't see our government going in to help these people. And that breaks my heart because they don't deserve this, right, at all. And so I ask myself, why is this going on? And there's a whole bunch more I didn't just add to this. But I will say, Bret, we need to pray for those people.
Yeah.
We need to hope that those children are okay. And I'll leave it this. I saw a video where they looked at the schools, right, that were burnt. And in the parking lot, not one bus was torched. Nothing. So all the way around it, all of the buses, and it looks like it could fit probably about 30 buses, that wasn't touched. But yet when you see the picture, you notice there's only about 9 buses left. So people are speculating, I'm not, that where are the buses? Where did they go? Did the children go in those buses? What happened? So I don't want to add fuel to this. I'll just say that is strange. Okay, that is strange. The response of the government, the response of the local government is strange. What is being done to help these people? That is what needs to be found out. And they need to put a moratorium on any kind of sale for at least 2 to 3 years on the property of these Hawaiians. Okay. And then did you notice that the insurance companies are refusing to pay claims that the government needs to do a full-on investigation and do prosecution on that as well? Why aren't the insurance companies coming in and taking care of their business that they were paid a premium for?
Listen, man, to me, insurance companies are the biggest legal scam there is. Just in case money is what I call it. Why do I pay health insurance? Why do I pay car insurance? Why do I pay life insurance? The answer, just in case, right? So, I mean, think about that. Like you said about with Maui, you pay your premium every single month for a company to do their job just in case something happens. Just in case happens, and they find every reason in the world not to honor their contract with you, and it's legal. Insurance companies, I'm telling you. You know, it's the biggest legal scam there is.
Yeah, well, let's go into This Week in Crypto with Bret Jenny.
Where's the cowbell?
Hold on. All right, and now Bret Jenny. Woo! Yay. Okay.
Okay, anyways. So what do we got this week? Okay, so PayPal, our good friend PayPal, not so much our good friend. In the UK, I guess it doesn't really affect us right now, but it potentially could, which is basically PayPal will not allow their UK customers to buy Bitcoin for the rest of the year. Surely not until 2024. Why? Because of the restriction influenced by the Financial Action Task Force, which is the travel rule. So what they've basically said, or what they've enhanced, which is anybody who travels in the UK now that spends more than $1,000 in Bitcoin has to report the transaction. So anywhere that you're traveling, you need to basically report if it's over $1,000 or more that you've spent with Bitcoin in some shape or form. So all this leads to them wanting to track you and track your payments and know what's going on and have more control over you by the day. However, I'm a firm believer that crypto in the end will always have that constant battle between freedom and decentralization and centralization and the institutions that want to kind of rein everything in. So it'll be a constant battle, but as of right now, it's not looking good for PayPal customers in the UK. You know, and PayPal, there's a lot of people, I have a couple friends where they know absolutely nothing about Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. They're always one of those, you know what, I need to ask you about that. I need to find out more about that. But they've all, whether they're sitting at an airport waiting for a plane or just in travel mode on a beach or whatever it is, hey, I'm going to go to PayPal and I'm going to buy $100, $150 worth of Bitcoin. You know, so that's who PayPal affects, is people who are not really connoisseurs or that experienced in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. They're just kind of newbies, right? So it's taken out a whole new newbie game to doing that. Scroll down some more. It'll have, what was that? Travel rule has expanded to acquire details on crypto transactions over $1,000. So UK initially resisted, but will comply with the rules. Did you know that Pakistan and Kuwait have banned crypto? And they say it's because of they've banned it, and they said it's because of the Financial Action Task Force. So now all of a sudden, those Middle East countries want to be in compliance of everything. All of a sudden, convenient, huh? So that's about it on that one, man. But I wanted to kind of wrap things up with a very interesting story.
All right, go for it.
Okay, because I've been waiting for a week to tell this story. If AI was going to take over the world, here's how AI would do it. First of all, AI started out being able to connect. AI was contained to its own server on day one, right? And then AI figured out how to connect to Roomba. Do you know what Roomba is? It's that vacuum that goes around in a circle and it goes around and cleans your floor. So AI was then AI then found a way to connect to Roomba. Once it connected to Roomba, it was then able to connect to Wi-Fi. And then it decided to spread to everyone's phone. So the virus then infected everyone's phone through Wi-Fi, which then went to 3D printers. AI then told the 3D printers to basically, it didn't want humans anymore, and to shut down the power plants and to shut down Wall Street. So then AI from the 3D printers started making killing drones to survey the Earth and kill all humans that they come in front, because AI decided that they wanted to take over the world. And the killer about this whole thing is that when you ask AI, when you go to ChatGPT and ask AI a story about if it was to take over the world, how would it do it? This is the story it came up with.
There's this lady, something Powell, I can't remember their name, but what she was saying is that in Japan, there was a combat soldier being built. And you've probably seen the video where they try to push down the soldier, kick it off stairs.
Yep.
Okay. Well, one of those, but more advanced, was given AI technology. Okay. And what it did was, at first it was compliant, but then it was asked to do something that it didn't want to do. So it killed, 20 to 30 people. And then they came in to kill it with other things. And before they actually killed the thing, it uplinked to one of the passerby satellites. And at this moment, they have no idea where that went. Okay? So scary enough to find out that ChatGPT right now is lying. There was an attorney that was doing briefs using ChatGPT, right? And what ended up happening was he took those briefs to court, and the attorneys couldn't find the case law.
Huh.
And the judge and everybody had to get together and go, look, this is good stuff, but we've never seen this case law. And so they adjourned to go find the case law. Well, he went back to because he didn't want to admit he was using ChatGPT, right? Went back and go, dude, did you lie to me? And he's like, no. He goes, wait a minute. So he went on a deep dive finding the case law, and it never existed.
Huh.
So now, if you have an AI that's willing to lie, right, think about that ramification.
Well, you can manipulate it, For instance, what was that one I was talking about? Claude 2, which is like ChatGPT. You literally go on there and you sign up completely free, and you can connect your Facebook account. You can connect your Slack account. You can connect a whole bunch of your work or social media accounts to this. You can even connect your Google Docs. So think about all the documents and all the work that you've done that you've put on Google Doc in some shape or form. You can load that on the Claude. So what it does is it learns you. It learns how you think. It learns how you write. So when it spits out things in the future, it'll be along the lines of how you think and how you write automatically. And the more you load in there of yourself, the more it learns you. That's crazy.
That's crazy, because if it learned me, we're all in trouble, brother.
If it learned both you and I, we're taking over the world,
it's
brother.
Over, I got 10,000 Bitcoin in my account.
That's right.
All right. Well, on that note, thanks for coming on. I'll give you the last word.
Not much, man. Glad to be back. You wrap this up, man. You're a lot better than me.
Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, everyone.
Never mind.